are getting on the boat too, you guys.
She didn't help at all. No, I didn't do anything.
I'm not a helper. Okay, how did they do this? Are males using injectables to stop the muscle movement in their faces?
Right.
Good job.
Oh my gosh.
You guys might remember my husband Jason from other carnivore videos we've shared. He's lost a tremendous amount of weight over the last 18 months, as you've seen in our carnivore videos, which is amazing, but can also cause volume loss in the face, as you guys saw from my own weight loss journey over the last few years. When you lose volume in your face, it can definitely show up in lines, wrinkles, and you just start to look really drawn. So Jason's joining me back today to go over what he just did in our Skin and Wellness app. If you are a member in our app, then you guys know that a few weeks ago, Jason injected his own face. He used a botulinum toxin A that we get from Korea. It's KFDA approved and works within 3 days. And today he's going to tell us all about it and how he felt comfortable and confident in doing this first procedure himself. Also, before we go any further, let's do the disclaimer. My videos are created with adult women in mind. My videos are not for children. I mark my content as 18 plus. This video is for educational purposes only. Unfortunately, it has become obvious to me that there is an attack on real information that helps real women. This gross censorship is appalling and abusive. Help me combat this attack on useful, true information by sharing this video with your friends and on your socials. If you're interested in the Skin and Wellness app that I have, then please look below for the link and join, where you'll be able to go watch what he just did. So this is going to be conversational and Q&A so that we can get down to the nitty-gritty of how you felt about this entire experience.
Great.
And a quick side note, we will be referring to botulinum toxin A, the injectable that stops muscle movement, as Tox, or we will use the KFDA brand name, which is Initox. So what were your reasons for wanting to try Tox after all these years, never having it done professionally? And at this point, you decided, I'm going to just do this at home.
I turned 50 this year. Not that that's why I did it, but I did start to notice a lot of new wrinkles that were forming on the sides and below my eye. I had a giant wrinkle on the bridge of my nose, and I had a whole lot of lines forming on my forehead, and they were becoming more and more noticeable really the last couple of years.
And with your weight loss, you noticed more.
Yes, I started the carnivore diet about 18 months ago, and with all the benefits that came, one side effect was a little bit of loosening skin. And I noticed more wrinkles forming under my eyes. And I would hope that actually doing the diet would cause things to tighten up. And in some ways they have. But the wrinkles and the lines that were forming in my face seemed to get more prominent. So I wanted to do something to help soften that a little bit. Kim has had this app for over 4 years, and I decided I would do my own research and kind of prove to myself and maybe to everyone else that someone who's as inexperienced as me, because I've never had Tox, I've never even had an injection in my face, that I could prove that someone like me could go into the app and do research and get comfortable enough and feel safe enough to do it yourself. So I decided to do that and use myself as that case study.
I love it.
So that's what I did. But, the thing that really bothers me the most are kind of the crow's feet.
As previously mentioned, you decided to use the Tox known as Initox, which is KFDA approved from Korea. How did you prepare for this?
That's a great question. Like I said earlier, I turned to the app and I started to read posts on the subject and watch a lot of videos. And what I found was there are a lot of people who have done this particular procedure or very similar ones. And what's great about a variety of people doing them, it's not just me watching Kim, who is great at it. I'm watching 6 or 7 people do it. They have little nuanced differences on how they prepare and how they set up. By combining all that stuff that I learned, I was able to kind of prepare my own method for preparation and setup, and something that I thought was more suitable for my own needs. Watching the videos was one of the best part of my preparation in the app, because I'm able to take a video, pause it, rewind it, or really focus in on one application that someone is doing in that moment. But even after reading about it and watching all these videos, I still found that I had questions. I'm so new at all this. I reached out to members in the app, and I was able to collaborate on very specific questions and issues that I thought I might have. Like I've always known, so many people are so willing to give advice and give encouragement. And we have men in the app, and these men are fantastic because they were able to give me very specific information on how the toxin might affect my muscles differently being a man. In most cases, we need to use a little additional tox, or replacement might be a little bit different. So collaborating with some specific men in the app was also helpful as I prepared for this journey.
Right, because obviously there's a lot of females who have a lot of tox in their face. Men are getting on the boat too, you guys.
More and more, that's true.
But their muscles might be stronger in certain areas. And so this whole collaboration concept of having the app and community members who have used these things and are willing to talk to you about it, it's gold. Okay, so you've been in the app, you've collected your notes. How did you actually plan and stage out this procedure? And you actually did it live in the app, so you had to be pretty on it.
That's right. I wanted to be prepared. I didn't want to look stupid in front of everybody. So the first thing I had to do was put together the product that I wanted to use. So the botulinum toxin that, as Kim mentioned, that we chose is Initox. Initox is a KFDA approved product. And the nice thing about Initox is it comes very easily. It comes in a liquid form already constituted. So it's ready to use right out of the package.
Right. So many of you who have had professional injections in an office might be familiar with the fact that most botulinum toxin A's need to be reconstituted, meaning they come in a little powder form. The vial looks empty nearly. And then water, bacteriostatic water, is added to suspend the neuromodulator for injection. Initox is special because it actually comes in a vial already reconstituted. So it already comes in liquid form. So especially for a DIY at-home person, it's quick because you don't need to reconstitute. You just draw it up and you're ready to inject.
And that's exactly what I did. I used the Initox. I used a small gauge insulin syringe, a makeup pencil to mark all the spots where I'm going to do the injection, a mirror, and I used numbing cream with lidocaine.
Which made it easier for you.
Wasn't sure if I needed it or not, but I went anyway.
I don't numb for doing Initox or botulinum toxin injections, but definitely if you're a first timer, it totally makes sense to throw on some numbing cream and just make it a little bit easier on yourself.
Yes, for sure. To help stage for this whole procedure, I had 2 printouts that I used that greatly helped me in my preparation and during the process. One was a face map, and the second was a tox layout sheet, and both are linkable down below. The face map was great because it allowed me to plan my mapping of my face prior to actually making the dots. I did it on the sheet of paper, and I could reference that and put the dots on my face. Maybe my favorite tool of all in this whole process was the tox layout sheet. This tox layout sheet allowed me to prepare my syringes and lay them out on a sheet indicating exactly where those syringes would be used on my face. For example, on step 1, I have one syringe that would have 4 places to mark, and I list that on the piece of paper. And I know that those correspond to the dots that I made on my face. It helped me to stay very organized and very consistent. I know what I've done, and I know what's next. So without this, I think it would have been very difficult to stay organized and to really understand what I'm doing, because there are multiple syringes, there's multiple applications, some have more units than others. So by organizing this ahead of time, it made the whole process much more comfortable, and I felt much more prepared for the process.
Right. And because I've done this for so long and because I see the challenges, we started doing this in the app. I started creating these sheets and just laying out my syringes, because especially since I do a lot of these procedures either filming or live, it's good for me to have them organized because you do get confused. So you're all set up now. What was the first injection like?
Miserable. Okay, so I think we just begin now. I thought I was very prepared, and I really was, but there are some very specific things that you just don't learn until you try it. For example, positioning of my hands. I was trying to keep everything visual for my mirror so I could see what I was doing, and also stay open for the 2 cameras we had set up. So just the simple positioning was a difficult challenge, and I finally figured that out. But also, I didn't know how much pressure to put. I didn't know if I was going to stick that needle through my skull. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know how it would feel. I knew that I had numbing cream on, but was it going to hurt? I wasn't trying to be a baby about it, but I just was unsure about what that sensation might be. So the very first injection took quite a few minutes, and I worked through it. But once I got that first one, and then the second one, it was just so much more smooth because now I had reference to what the pain was or wasn't. And it wasn't too bad.
Like
that sensation, how the feel. That's exactly right. Learned a lot very fast.
I assume that you must have been pretty nervous starting this. So how did you overcome that hesitation?
Surprisingly, I wasn't as nervous as you might think. I felt like I was really prepared, so I was kind of excited for it. It's not really my wheelhouse, but I was excited for kind of a new challenge. My hesitancy came because I decided to go live in our app. And so we had a number of people that were watching live while I was doing it for the first time. So there was a little bit of nerve-wracking and hesitation because of that. But everybody in the app, they're so friendly. Most people that were joining the app either have done this before, so they knew exactly what I was going through, or they were really interested in doing it, so they really wanted to learn. And I think my perspective of being brand new, have never done this, and maybe the live challenges that I think very raw, maybe helped somebody brand new. And I know that 3 or 4 people after I did that, did it themselves because of partly from learning from everybody else in the app and from watching my experience in a very raw fashion. I didn't really screw it up too much, and I didn't have a lot of reference.
It can be super motivating. That's the reason the lives in the app are so awesome in the afternoons, because even for me, I'll get on there and I'll just be so motivated. I'll be like, oh my gosh, I want to do that too today. Besides some of the initial pricks of the syringe, what were some of the other challenges you faced during your first attempt at doing your own talks?
I really had one challenge. I couldn't see. I need reading glasses for anything that's within 3 feet in front of my face. Everything is just very blurry. I didn't think this would be an issue because I had mapped out my face with the dots and I had my reading glasses on earlier and I looked in the mirror without my reading glasses and I could see the dots just fine. So I didn't anticipate this being an issue. However, while I was live and trying to do that very first injection, it became very apparent that while looking in the mirror, I could see the dot, but I couldn't see the end of the needle. So I was trying to feel with the needle where that dot was, and then I couldn't really see what angle I was at. It was tremendous issues right at the forefront because I couldn't see what I was doing. So I put my glasses on. And what I found was my first injection was right here in this corrugator area. I need reading glasses, and I'm going to find it difficult to be able to see this very well. It happens to be right behind my frame of my glasses. So even adjusting the glasses, it adjusted the view. It was a struggle. I couldn't move the glasses in a way that I could get access there. If I took them off, I couldn't see where the needle was going. It was such a challenge. It took so much longer because of that one issue. Now, I found that when I'm outside of my eye area, my forehead was smooth. I could use my glasses and that was fine. I did find a 10 by magnification mirror that I would use, and I would be very close to it, and that would help with my eyes, but that was very hard to use as well. That part was a new challenge that I was not anticipating.
And obviously, around our 40s and 50s, our eyesight is failing.
Found these little glasses. They are 3.0 reading glasses, and they fit on the bridge of your nose like that. They're not super stable, but they're stable enough for a short period of time, and they work. Now I can use a mirror and see my injection spots very clearly, and I can see the end of the syringe very clearly.
Yeah, these are a huge game changer, especially for people in our app, because most of us who are doing injections are, later 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. So eyesight is an issue, and these new little readers are definitely a way to be able to see your injections, especially close around your eyes where your frames might block your injection spot.
Do you know what they're called?
No.
They're called mascara glasses.
Oh, so you can do your mascara.
I think that's the whole premise of them. We'll put a link below. They're really cheap. I bought a 3-pack for like $10 on Amazon, but really helpful for this application.
So it took you roughly about 40 minutes to do your face. And how many units of Innotox did you use?
Yeah, great question. I used 80 units total for all of this work that I did. And you're right, it went much quicker than expected, even with the troubles in the beginning. And I'm really excited about the turnout. I think it was pretty successful for my first time. I think that the lines around my eyes have diminished greatly. I, again, don't mind aging gracefully, and I don't mind if there's some character there, but it did get rid of a lot of the deep lines that were forming right under my eye here. This crinkle I had right at the bridge of my nose is mostly gone, and my forehead, whenever I smile or have any kind of engagement there, is mostly smooth. So I'm really happy about how all that turned out. But I did have one issue of this whole process. There was only one thing that really didn't work out as well. I noticed about 4 days or 5 days after I did the procedure that my upper lip kind of wasn't moving. And I didn't think much of it because I didn't do any injections around my lip. I went to brush my teeth one day and I couldn't raise my lip to get my toothbrush under there, the oddest thing. So after like 2 days, or maybe the 3rd day, I thought, well, maybe there's something connected. So I went back to the app and I started questioning and asking people what their experience was, what their thoughts might be. And then we all kind of together went back and reviewed the video that I made. It was great because I was able to determine after reviewing all of this that the bunny lines where I was doing injections on the sides of my nose here.
You were too lateral.
We were too lateral. We dipped down pretty far and we got into this muscle right here. And it's the top of the muscle that comes down and affects your whole lip. It did. It numbed my upper lip, which I kind of hate because it's changed my smile. I'm actually pretty self-conscious.
It's not numb. You feel your lip. It just has stopped the muscle movement.
Numb is the wrong word. It stopped that movement. I don't have that ability to flex or to raise like I did. But you are absolutely correct. It's not a numb sensation. I don't feel anything abnormal, but I can't lift it. So it makes my smile different, and I feel like it makes my structure of my mouth different when I speak.
Well, because right now, like when I smile, I get a lot of upper teeth. Right now, when you smile, you don't.
I can't. And normally I do, but I can't get it up there. I can't get it up.
Nice. This will fade. It will go away. It's unfortunate. Obviously, it's not like the end of the world. You're fine. You can lift your lip to brush your teeth.
I can still smile if I need to like that.
I mean, this would be horrible to happen right before a wedding or something, obviously. So I'm not trying to downplay the severity of him not having his full smile. This is definitely an unfortunate side effect. It's actually really bizarre to me that this happened to you because I've also played around with my bunny nose a lot and I've done a lot of lateral injections and I've never had the top of my lip drop like yours.
Man muscles, they're just everywhere.
In fact, I've personally never dropped anything in my face.
Well, one of the reasons that I timed it when I did it was in case something went wrong. I kind of anticipated that I would have something off. I'd have a Sylvester Stallone look in the end, or I would have more talk somewhere that I shouldn't. In the end, it's really very minimal, but I timed it in a period of my life here that would probably be okay. I had no weddings I needed to speak at for the next few weeks. So it's not horrible. It's just I'm a little self-conscious about it. And it's something to note. The next time that I do a procedure like this, I'll be very, very aware of what I did here and how to avoid it.
That's part of it. You learn your face. You learn what works. You also learn how many units some areas of your face take. It's not a perfect science because we're all very different.
That's very true. And so I think like everybody has to learn for themselves exactly how to map their face. The second time I do it, I'll use the same mapping that I have and I'll tweak it slightly for adding a little more Initox in some areas, maybe positioning my needle a little bit differently in other areas.
So you did your first round and you really used 76 units in your first.
Correct. On that first day, I used 76 units.
So you did do some touch-ups.
2 weeks later, I noticed that on my forehead here, I had what I call a rainbow effect. I had two lines that were pretty prominent. They weren't any different than it was before I did tox, but this side smoothed out, this side did not. So I decided to do 2 injections. And to be clear, I was going to do it after 1 week, but I decided to wait an extra week to see if anything else kind of shifted.
Mm-hmm.
So on the second week, I did 4 total units. I did 2 injections of 2 units each, right by each of the creases above my eye here. And it only took about 4 days and that smoothed out. I had some good advice from the app. I used the dosing correctly to try to match this side. I'm not sure why it didn't take the first time exactly, but the second time it did. So I only did that touch-up.
Nice.
And I'm really happy with it too. It worked out perfectly. I considered doing a little bit more touch-up under my eyes, but some advice that I got was to maybe hold off a little bit longer just to see how things play overall. And I'm really glad I did. I don't for want any less action here than I already have, but for the next time, I'll be able to have these notes to know how to dose properly.
Exactly. Well, and that's the other thing that's great about Initox. So from my experience trying a ton of these different branded botulinum toxins that are in the United States and in Korea, I will tell you that Initox for me has one of the fastest uptakes of any botulinum toxin I've ever tried. For me, within 3 days, I'm like frozen. It's crazy. That is one thing that's nice about Initox. If you need touch-ups, you usually can tell within the first week where you're probably going to want to do those.
That's what I thought too, based on what everyone said about Initox.
Yeah.
Because of my first time not knowing how I would react, I decided to wait an extra week.
Of course. So after this first initial jump into the pond with botulinum toxin, would you do it again?
Yeah, for sure. I would. I don't think I'll go too crazy on it, but I do feel like if I can take the edge off of some of these deep wrinkles that form, I think that's good. And again, I lost a lot of weight last year and I got in a lot more shape. Some of the causation of that is some of the sagging in your loose skin up here. I wanted to clear that up and it did. For my purposes, I think it did a great job. So I think in the future, as it starts to develop more, I probably will do, I don't know if you call them continual touch-ups or if I'll do a whole full procedure again in the future, but we'll just give it some time and see how this kind of plays out. But absolutely, I'm excited about it. No real bad side effect. I'll just avoid my lips next time.
I'll make this prediction. As your tox in your forehead starts to fade and you start to see all this wrinkling again, I bet you anything you're gonna be like, oh, it's time. Because as you start to see those wrinkles pick up again, you start to be more aware because you're so used to it being flat. And then you'll be like, oh, it's time to touch up. I'll be interested to see how you do in this next year, for sure.
I can certainly see that. And I wonder, do people often, if I start to see this wrinkle start to develop more quickly, would I just do a quick little touch-up there and wait on the rest? Do people do that? Just continual touch-ups all the time?
I've done random touch-ups.
I think so too. And I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to let this play fully through because I want to see the whole process of how I react. But maybe you're right. Maybe I'm a tox for life.
You're going to be a tox addict. I just know it. Any advice you'd give to anyone else who's maybe in your same boat or interested or thinking you're crazy, but thinking, how did they do this?
For sure. If you're interested at all in doing it, my first advice is do research and feel prepared. There's no reason to rush for it. You can always have someone else do it as well. But do your research and be prepared. Ask questions in the app. There are so many people who have been through this and they love talking about it and they're a wealth of information. A lot of people. So I really spend most of my time there just chatting and getting advice from people who have been through it and who have had some issues and learned from that and teaching me so I don't run into that.
Yeah, and I think another quick point to make is there's nothing wrong with going to the med spa and getting your injectables done at all. But one reason that people choose the app or look for other options is because of price and convenience. So for instance, what Jason just did with Tox in his face, that could have easily been $1,200, $1,300 at a med spa. That's just what the units of toxin now in the US are. They're $15 a unit. You know, you do the math on that and you're over $1,000.
I did all this for $100.
Yeah, we buy these units much cheaper from Korea. And that's why so many people enjoy doing it themselves because they save so much money.
Bottom line is you can look like this for $100.
Full face of Tox.
That's right.
$100.
One more piece of advice I would give is if you do this on your own, film it. I'm not saying you have to go live. You don't even have to show it to anybody ever.
Yeah.
But I found two really valuable points in filming it. One, if I needed to reference like I did with my lips, I was able to reference and I could see exactly what I did wrong later. I may not have remembered that exactly, but now I can see it. So that was helpful. The second thing is as I rewatch my video, and yes, I'm one of those guys who rewatches their own videos, I see all the things I would have done different. I can see placement. I can see positioning. I think I learned tremendously from watching my own mistakes, and I'm super self-conscious about them. So I think my next one will be a lot more clear, at least for myself, on how I do the setup and how I do the actual procedure.
And that's the reason I use my binder also. So if you're in the app, you've seen my binder. And basically, I just print off these sheets. I mark what I'm doing. I write the date. I write down what the product is I'm using. And then I can easily flip through it and see what I did, where I placed it, what I did on what days. I've been doing this for a long time and it gets really confusing and you're never going to remember. I promise you, you are never going to remember. Printing off these sheets, marking them up, putting them into just a 3-ring binder. That's the way to do it.
Journaling your journey.
Yeah, it's a quick way to journal your journey. And I highly recommend it because you just won't remember.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for all the questions. Hope that is helpful to anybody who's watching.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that you decided to jump on the bandwagon, attempt it. You never asked me one question. I appreciated that because there was this idea of like, can he do it himself? I don't want to be like, I don't know, organizing it for him and telling him what to do. So I was really grateful for this entire experience too, because it just, again, re-edified to me that the app is useful, it is helpful, and it can help people do their own thing at home.
She didn't help at all.
I'm not a helper. Thanks guys for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next video.
Bye. Hi, this is Jason. This is my first time doing Tox. Welcome. And for you in the app, we're filming twice here. We're filming in the app and we're filming on our big camera. I have made a couple of modifications to this, which I'll discuss in a moment.
Okay, so we've already done the looking back, I guess?
Reflections and future plans.
But you already did that, or no?
I think you, let's see.
Okay, well, I guess I'll just say like,
would you do it again?
Yeah.
I think.